Haven't they stolen enough from us? Haven't they appropriated enough from us? Haven't they robbed, stealed, killed, enslaved, lynched, miseducated, mass incarcerated, politically dominated us enough? The fact that you got black people arguing for a white man to be considered the greatest of all time in an African art form speaks to how psychologically ill we are as a race of people. After all we have been through in this country, you got black men running around playing defense attorney for white folks, advocating for Marshall Mathers. Nothing against Eminem personally, but for a black person to go out of their way to fight for any white person to be considered the greatest of all time in an art form that should be sacred to our community, our culture, and our people is absolutely ridiculous.
Tell me you're a victim without telling me you're a victim. What does anything that just came out of Umar's mouth have to do with Eminem's talent as a rapper? Merch alert, man. Hey, if you see me rocking a shirt that you vibing with, go on ahead and tap in to shopstevieknight.com and find what you're looking for. Type in promo code do work and you will get an additional 20% off. All right? You're welcome. Let's get into this shit. What up, Night Nation, YouTube? I'm not sure where I'm gonna post this video, man, because it applies. The topic of discussion today applies to both channels, man. It's just, the real world. Yesterday, the reaction to Umar, toxic Umar, who has some interesting things to say about Eminem. And, he's a race-baiting, click-baiting, polarizing individual that's, I think he does a disservice to a lot of people with the things he says, man. But then at the end of the day, I don't want to discredit him entirely because there's some truth to what he says, but his intention is to just get views and go viral and get paid for these interviews saying the most outrageous things, bro. But a couple days ago, he went on the Joe Budden podcast and pretty much said that Eminem could never be considered one of the greatest rappers of all time because of color of his skin. I mean, and it makes sense with Dr. Umar saying it. That's the type of things that he says. That's what he's known for. Yeah, I mean, I expected to hear something like that come out of his mouth. And it went viral, of course. I think it's still going viral, man. I did a little video on it yesterday. And what's gotten my attention most from this after I posted it on YouTube and Instagram is that I'm looking in the comments, bro, and it's a lot of advocating for racism, pretty much. Like those that are in support of what Umar is saying. In a vacuum, anytime there's a situation where someone is, denied entry, denied existence, denied to take part in, denied to be recognized as something because of the color of their skin, I mean, by definition, what is that? And everybody comes up with, why that is, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day. It's 2023, man, and big picture, Eminem aside, bro, it's like we got a lot of work to do if people are holding on to this. And I mean, I understand where it comes from because it's an emotionally charged topic, hip hop, where it's come from, the roots of it, the cultural impact of it. I get all that, man, but if we're really trying to promote equality and everybody be judged by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin. The people that fought for us to be where we are today will be rolling in their grave if we're denying someone something, to take part in something because of the color of their skin. It's like, you're a hypocrite by doing that. And regardless of where it comes from, you're being a hypocrite. And I know where it comes from. It comes from the people hate to hear it, the victim mentality, man. The victimhood. We can't have nothing, right? We can't have nothing to ourselves, nothing of our own, because somebody got to come in here and take it from us. First of all, by definition, if you bogarting something and keeping it black and nobody allowed into it, what is that? Again, that's racism. I know it's a sense of taking pride in our community, our culture, and things of that nature, man, but hip hop is global now. It's been global for a long time, and For those trying to keep it in a little black box, bro, I mean, I get where it comes from, but you're not doing black folks any favor by doing that. You're making us look bad, and you're making what people did in the past done in vain by acting that way. You want to be treated fairly, you got to treat others fairly as well too. I think the logic behind the argument is flawed. You know, hip hop is black. It came from blackness, it came from black culture. So we shouldn't be advocating or recognizing someone not black as one of the greats in this because it came from blackness, which again, by definition, is racism. But it's okay. It's I mean, real talk. Whether you accept it or not, it's okay for black people to be racist, right? Because of what happened in the past, right? But it's okay for us to be racist. I mean, that needs to be put out there, bro. Because if there's anybody out here white saying the type of things that Umar is saying, or people that are saying that I identify with this logic, they would be castrated. They would be ostracized, bro. They would be ridiculed. They would be treated like Kanye when he says the things he says. If someone of status and had a platform was out here saying these type of things, bro, it would be over for them. I know where it comes from. Minorities are allowed to play victim and be racist because of oppression, right? I understand that. But it don't mean it's right, because it's not fair. And you're essentially doing the same things that were in principle. You're doing the same things that were done to us in the past today. And we're never going to get into a place of progressiveness and growth if we're holding on to the past. But yeah, the logic behind it is flawed, because we take the same logic and apply that to, you know, other professions. Like I said in the video, basketball, football, tennis, golf, things of that nature that came from whiteness, and apply that logic to this, then we can't recognize the Venuses, the Serenas, the Tiger Woods, the Michael Jordans, the Kobe's, you know, the Walter Paytons. We can't recognize any of these people because, you know, they're not white, right? But the major argument, not major, yeah, the biggest argument I saw in that is people like they're pushing the goalpost by saying this, but now we are comparing an invention to culture. Like hip hop came from black culture. It came from the societal climate and why hip hop was born. Even though it's much more nuanced, that man, but you know, that's the argument, that hip hop came from a nuanced birth of society for black folks at a certain point, right? And you compare that to like Naismith inventing basketball in late 1800s, right? Pushing the goalpost, because in principle it's the same thing. Black people created this, white people created that. How they created it, why they created it, should be irrelevant, because it's two separate groups creating something that everybody shares today. But even with that argument, if we're going to isolate, you know, inventions from white people that black people took over, right? But for anyone to pretend like basketball, for example, when it was born and when it became popular, it became the most popular sport, you know, a decade or two after that, 100% white. If you don't think any white culture derived from basketball being all white at a certain point.
At New York's Madison Square Garden, a City College quintet faces five fast and fancy web feet from the University of Oregon. It's the opening contest of an intersectional doubleheader, and New York draws 2 points worth of first blood. 16,000 fans watch the boys from the Pacific Coast as they try to stem the onslaught of City College Beavers.
Then I don't really know what to tell you, man. Like athletics, sports, competition, that's culture. That influences culture. Did the same thing back then. Competition of things. Like what we're doing right now to an Eminem or anybody else who find themselves in this type of situation is the same thing in principle that Earl Lloyd had to go through, being the first player to participate in the National Basketball Association. Imagine how it was racism thriving back then, right? Thriving. You imagine the amount of pride these white people have had playing basketball at their highest level at that point, as racist as it was in the 1940s, 50s, whenever he started playing, right? And then you drop this black man in this white dominated sport. From then on, basketball shifted. Sports shifted when the introduction of African American athletes in sports, period. You don't see, I mean, I'm sure you do. There's racists around, But you mean your typical American, your typical patron ain't gonna be out here complaining about how black folks have dominated white sports. It is what it is, and black people are accepted in it. Change the culture. Change the culture of sports. It's like an Eminem changed the culture of hip hop, but what Eminem has done and his talents don't matter because he's white. But white folks can't say that shit, bro. I can only imagine how it was back then where, white folks was playing these different sports at the highest level to them. You know what I mean? And then black folks started to dominate. You imagine what's going on in these white folks' head? I'm pretty sure they said it too back then because it was racist as fuck. Like, we can't have nothing. These tall ass, fast ass, strong ass girls in here and they just take over. We can't have nothing to ourselves, bro, because the black folks come up here and dominate. You put them on the track, they smoke us. You put them on the basketball court, they dunk on us. You put them in the damn football field, they run past us, bro. I bet you they was having them conversations, probably saying out loud back then, right? And then black folks turn around doing the same thing to the likes of Eminem right now because, black folks can't have nothing to ourselves. Man, if you keep it a whole stack, black folks push the pendulum as far as cultural impact in America, man. Like, we make this shit swing. Like, there's a bunch of shit that we have to ourselves. A bunch of shit that we pioneered, a bunch of shit that we started, bruh. And then people want to include themselves in it because it's popping. Like, imitation is the purest form of flattery, bruh. You know what I mean? Imitation is adoration. But we're looking at it as somebody trying to take shit from us. No one will ever fucking forget where hip hop came from, what it is, what it represents. And if anybody is trying to do that shit, then those are the ones you need to be trying to hold accountable or trying to, minimize or discredit, not ones that are out here really trying to push for the truest form of hip hop, being the likes of Eminem as much as he done for it. And I'm not trying to make this about Eminem. I'm trying to make this about the hypocrisy of I don't want to say black folks, but that's where this argument comes from. A certain group of black folk, the culture. I mean, where you can get fucking damn near retarded black folks up here disrespecting the way they represent hip hop, but they're allowed to do so because they're black. But then you have Eminem and what he's poured into hip hop. It don't matter because he's white. Bruh, we sitting here doing the same shit in principle that white folks were doing to us back then. Eminem ain't hurt nobody. He can let him do his thing. Like, he ain't hurt nobody. Hip hop ain't never gonna be taken away, bruh. Like, it's global now, right? You want more ears on it, bruh. It's gonna just push the fucking culture that much more. But nah, niggas ain't listening to motherfucking Eminem in the hood, bro. Niggas in the hood is not hip hop today, bruh. Like, it's a global. Yeah, just my thoughts. I'd love to have like a conversation. I'm not gonna say a debate because I want to keep it cool, calm, and respectable with whomever disagrees with me. Right? Like, I want to hear a valid argument for the other side that is not perpetuating racism. Because anytime you put the block up, not allow anybody to do something because of the color of their skin, bruh, it's racism. Racism. I don't know if you know